this than I am.
Okay, so I think everybody's pretty aware of the Kashmir conflict over how India, Pakistan, and China have different controls over Kashmir, and that the people within Kashmir itself want to become independent of each state and have their own Kashmiri state, but they don't because the water flows out of there into Western India and all of Pakistan.
Oh, I didn't know that there was an independence movement in Kashmir.
Yeah, most of the people there do not support any of the three states. They want to be an independent state, but Pakistan and India, and to a lesser extent China, won't let them.
Right. Is it majority Sikh there?
No, it's majority Muslim.
Oh, okay. But they don't want to join Pakistan?
No.
Is Kashmir nicer than the rest of Pakistan?
I don't know. Probably not. It's probably worse, to be honest.
Right.
Because of the occupation.
Mm-hmm. Although I guess that can bring in money and that kind of thing. But yeah. So how is it? So it's like most of it controlled by India and like just some of it governed by Pakistan?
Well, I think it's like 35% is controlled by India, 27% by Pakistan. Something like I had the numbers in front of me. China controls about 20% of it. Pakistan has a sizable portion.
Okay, so it's 70% Muslim, 30% Hindu. Because I remember what happened with
I sent a map in the chat so you can look at it.
I remember what happened with Kashmir was it was a Muslim majority area with a Hindu governor. Mm-hmm. So he sided with India.
Well, okay. There's been numerous allegations of Indian abuse within their regions, and I'm sure Pakistan is abusive too.
So is Jammu and Kashmir the part that India controls?
Yeah.
Okay, so India controls about half of it.
Yeah, and then it's split up between China and Pakistan for the other half.
I don't think China's even like really been mentioned during this whole thing.
No, China's trying to force Pakistan to de-escalate.
Is Pakistan a client state of China at all?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it is at this point?
Yeah, because China's built a ring around India. It's built a ring of allies around India. It'll probably get military bases in Sri Lanka and Burma in the next few years through debt negotiation processes. Most probably Sri Lanka, it'll have Navy bases there.
Right. I hadn't realized, so Sri Lanka is allied with China now?
Yeah.
Interesting. Just because they've given them money, or?
Well, yeah. So they're trying to build they built a port there, and then they demanded the money from Sri Lanka for its debt to China, and then Sri Lanka gave them the port.
Sorry, so they built a port, and then they demanded
for Sri Lanka.
They demanded that they get paid for the port, and they didn't, so then they repossessed the port.
Yes.
That is a very China thing to do.
Well, that's what China did with Djibouti. And now China has a military base in Djibouti.
Like, so is China's like claim to fame just stealing from people? Well, no, not stealing. Like just taking money from people with no agency?
Yes. So don't they basically get free oil from Venezuela?
Yes, because Venezuela agreed to ruinous terms in exchange for money to sell them at oil like at far below market value, because they have no agency and they just think in the extreme short term, whereas China thinks in the long term. So long term that a lot of their stuff doesn't even really seem like smart in the long term. So yeah, they have a big base in Djibouti now.
Yep. Anyway, let's continue back on to India versus Pakistan in the line of control which separates Pakistani Kashmir and Indian Kashmir. So Pakistan.
Sorry, didn't Pakistan used to be a U.S. ally?
Pakistan is more of a U.S. ally than India is a U.S. ally.
But does Pakistan kind of play China and America off against each other?
No, I think both of them support it, but China supports Pakistan much more than the U.S. does.
Russia traditionally allied with India, or are they just on very good terms?
They're under better terms than they're not. I wouldn't call them allies exactly.
I forget. I forget if they signed a defense pact or not.
I don't think so.
Okay, but they're on good terms. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So go back.
Yeah, it's usually Russia, India, U.S., Pakistan, China, Pakistan.
Mm-hmm. Their baying is beautiful.
Anyway, so there's a line of control in between, which is what separates the two regions, and the CIA, the equivalent of the CIA in Pakistan, the Inter Services Intelligence, supported and created a terrorist group known as Jaish-e-Mohammed, and that's a terrorist group which has done the 2001 attack on the Legislative Assembly in Indian Kashmir, 2001 Indian Parliament attack, the 2016 Bahut Air Base attack, the 2016 attack on the Indian mission, the 2016 Uri attack, and now this attack in Pulwama. And it's Pakistan on paper has declared that they're a terrorist organization, but it does nothing of substantial value to prevent them from attacking India.
So
and
isn't the Pakistanis? What did you call them again? What's
the Pakistanis?
No, what's their CIA equivalent again?
Oh, the Inter-Services Intelligence.
Yeah, aren't they? Don't they just kind of do their own thing? Like, I don't think they're really under government control, are they?
No. I don't know that much to that point of how.
I mean, no, Pakistan has a huge issue where.
Well, they're basically one hair above a failed state, right? So even if the central government isn't in the best relations with the army, which isn't in the best relations with the ISI, and then there's factions within them, they're going to do whatever they want, right?
I imagine things changed when it returned to civilian government, because I remember Islamabad had been built up as basically a fortress city. But I guess it's now. Pakistan just seems like it basically is a failed state, but with a stronger military.
Well, its military is mostly to attack India. It's not to create peace along the Afghani border. So the United States gave Pakistan and our F-16s, so that we'll get to that later, to help them fight the Taliban within Pakistan itself.
Right.
So eventually that's what ended up happening with this plane shooting down. They used the American F-16s to shoot down the very old Soviet MiG-21s.
Right.
So anyway, Jaish-e-Mohammed will attack into India, and India has no way to stop them. The only way that it can try and stop these terrorist attacks is through trying to force Pakistan and trying to use the international community to get Pakistan to destroy Jaish-e-Mohammed. But Pakistan doesn't comply. So since 2001, after that led to, there's a few hundred people. Pretty interesting about this, I was talking to a friend earlier, is like it's never called border wars. These are always called, standoffs, even though hundreds of people die in them.
Right.
So 2001 was a really big deal. That's where Jaish-e-Mohammed became pretty well known for their attack on the Indian parliament. So anyway, since then, India's policy has been almost exclusively use of negotiation to try and use the international community to shame Pakistan into stopping the terrorist attacks. But now India has changed its policy to destroying Jashid Mohammed's bases whenever this happens. So then this happened this year, and India responded supposedly by bombing a series of bases, which are far beyond, they're beyond Kashmir. They're inside Pakistan, outside of Kashmir. The bases that they attacked of Jashid Mohammed.
So Pakistan has a whole bunch of these groups, right? Like,
yeah,
that they basically, I call it implausible deniability.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it was these guys who were using money and weapons from us, but we can't do anything about it. But you can't come into Pakistan because we're a sovereign nation. So they just basically blow shit up, then run across the border.
Yep, that's their modus operandi.
Okay.
So anyway, India changed its policy because India has massive conventional war as well as nuclear war superiority in both fields. So India changed its military policy when this happens, destroying as much of Jashid Mohammed as it can and starting a lightning conventional war where they'll destroy, similar to like Israel's war in 1973, where they'll destroy as much of the Pakistani military as they can as quickly as they can before the so-called red line will be crossed, because Pakistan has tactical nukes. And what they do is they say that if India attacks them, they'll use their tactical nukes to hit Indian forces within Pakistan.
Right.
Except for their tactical nukes, if they're used, India's nuclear policy is no first strike, but massive retaliation. So if Pakistan struck even Indian troops with a tactical nuclear weapon within Pakistan itself, India's technical nuclear policy is then to destroy all of Pakistan with nuclear weapons.
So they have strategic ones. India does.
Yeah, they're nuclear superior. I think India might have a triad, but India's nuclear and conventional war abilities are far superior over Pakistan.
Well, India has a lot of issues. It's not nearly as much of a failed state as, like, there's parts of India that aren't complete shit, whereas there aren't parts of Pakistan.
No, well, India's military has control of India.
That's true. My understanding is Pakistan is basically just like it's kind of like Somalia, where you just have all these different factions running around, and none of them like really talk to each other or answer to each other. Like, the central government seems to have virtually no control over the vast majority of the country.
I don't know if it's the vast majority, but there's certain Kashmir, they're controlled areas of Kashmir and the areas bordering Afghanistan.
I mean, also like the army and like security services don't.
Yeah, I mean, they're not
under
playing with
government
a full
control.
deck of cards.
Right.
Here's the thing about whenever these conflicts happen is it's like India says it has a full house when it has two cards.
Right.
Or sorry, Pakistan says it has a full house when it has two cards.
Right.
Anyway, so that leads to a situation where this conflict can never be resolved because Pakistan will never stop Jashid Mohammed. And they'll continually attack India, and India doesn't have any recourse because if they try to stop them, Pakistan could hit them with nukes.
Yeah, I mean, like, to be fair to India, like, what are they supposed to do? If these people's guys are coming in and like, how many people did they kill? Like 40 in this last one?
Yeah, 40 this one.
Because I mean,
and they attacked a military target this time.
Yeah, well, even if it was a civilian target, if you have like another state who's funding a terrorist group, and it's really obvious they're providing safe haven to them, and this group keeps coming in and killing people, then yeah, exactly. I don't know what India is really supposed to do.
Do you want me to explain the fighters thing?
Sure, just 1 second. Just a couple questions. Elaborate on the Indian military controlling India. You just mean that, like, India doesn't have large portions of the country that are...
I mean, there's militants against India for Kashmiri independence, but they can't take vast swaths of the control of India and directly threaten. There's never a time when there was a civil war that could happen or a military coup d'etat that could happen and India could turn into like turn into a billion-person Syria, right?
Well, India has civilian control over the military,
Yes.
which
I
Pakistan
mean,
doesn't have.
was it were the Naxalites, the Maoists,
Yeah,
and the Kashmiri independence movements are nothing like the Northwest War in Pakistan.
right. The other question is, do you think that this is going to be a okay, well, we'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so sorry, go on with the fighter jets.
Okay, so after this happened, India responded by bombing the so-called base within Pakistan of Jashid Mohammed,
Do you
but
think
without
it
any
was?
proof.
Do you think it was their base?
I have no reason to say it wasn't. Why would they just attack trees according to Pakistan? Pakistan claims that they attack trees. They just attack the forest, which is dumb. So anyway, when India was conducting bombing strikes, India had inferior MiG-21s, which are much older than F-16s, and Pakistan shot down at least one MiG-21. And then in response, in response to this, Pakistan took one of the captured pilots and is going to try and used him for propaganda purposes. For instance, over the destroyed F-16, there was a news anchor that said, "Take this, India."
Sorry, what destroyed F-16?
The destroyed MiG-21
Okay,
from
right.
India. The Pakistani news anchor woman stood over the top of it and said, "Take this, India." So it's extremely escalated and a lot of civilians support a full-scale war between both sides. In both militaries and like the news media in both countries support a full-scale war. And the thing is that Modi has re-election. Modi, the Prime Minister of India, has re-election in 2 months. So he has to show that he's strong. But if he doesn't show that he's strong, then he won't win re-election, right? So the problem here is that Pakistan now humiliated India by shooting down its
Especially when
aircraft.
he's a right-wing nationalist
Yes.
and his base is right-wing nationalists.
So what happened is Pakistan humiliated India by shooting down their aircraft, and then and now the Pakistani Prime Minister is saying, "Peace treaty? Let's have a peace treaty. I'll give you back your pilot, and we'll have a peace treaty," and making Modi weak before the election. So the question now is, will India continue to escalate, or will it have the Pakistanis Prime Minister's peace treaty and be humiliated and face being defeated in re-election?
Right, because the election is not like super close in India, but it's probably going to be a minority government.
Yeah.
Looking at the polls. And I don't know, it still could swing either way. But that's kind of the issue is Modi's kind of hitched himself to radical Hindu nationalists. And I'm sympathetic to like I like Modi, don't get me wrong. I think he's done a lot of good things for India. But that's the issue of those people is they can kind of be a liability when it comes to realpolitik.
Yeah, so basically it's like, here's how I envision it. Pakistan is like a 6-year or like a 6th grader, and then India's like a sophomore in high school. India has a shotgun. Pakistan has a rusty old pistol that might not work. And Pakistan just punched India in the face and said, "Are you going to kill me? Are you going to kill me?" And then all the adults are standing by telling India and Pakistan to stop.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like yeah, so okay, so that's kind of how things are at the moment. So do you think like what could India do to escalate at this point?
Just continue strikes against. So in 1999, just after Pakistan exploded its first nuclear weapons, there was the Kargil War, where Pakistan invaded Indian Kashmir, pretending to be paramilitaries. and then took over they pretended to be paramilitaries and took over parts of Indian Kashmir, and then India reinvaded and kicked them out, and then there was a peace treaty again where they went back to their original line of control.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. The worst case scenario is that it escalates. There's more Pakistani forces locally within the region, and Pakistani forces push Indians out of Kashmir, and then Indians have to reinvade Kashmir, and there'll be like thousands of casualties. Mm-hmm. And then that could escalate out of control if the so-called red lines, and then Pakistan tries to use tactical nuclear weapons to prevent Indian advance.
Do you think there's any chance both sides might actually try to take Kashmir, like, permanently?
No. Unless it gets completely out of control. The worst is that there'll be radicalized generals that will just act on their own accord. That's the worst part, is that could happen.
See, I'm a lot more concerned about Pakistan because there isn't effective civilian control of the army. Like,
at this point, it seems that India will escalate, but we don't know how much control. Because the problem is that we have no idea what's going on, because both sides are extremely propagandistic and very jingoist.
Yeah.
So people there don't know what's going on through the propaganda, and we're an entire world away, right?
Yeah, it's hard to say. Let's see here. The person says the worst case scenario is a nuclear war, and then they all come to Europe.
No, that's what I said before. That's the worst case scenario, is it will lead to the greatest refugee crisis in world history. Mm-hmm. Well, also the worst case scenario is that even if India wins without a single Indian civilian dying, and they because India could possibly decapitate Pakistan in a first strike, then Pakistan would turn into a 200 million people Somalia and it would become like warlord era China. With nukes.
How many does Pakistan? Because my concern with Pakistan having nukes is that country's so fucking unstable. You could have like these crazy ISI guys, or like some radical like general in the military, or some Islamists getting their hands on the nukes and just going rogue. Like, no one knows what the hell's going on in that country.
As we talked about before in the nuclear war episode, Pakistan is the greatest threat to nuclear war and world stability, with weapons of mass destruction, and then Israel. But Pakistan is the worst.
So Pakistan has approximately 150 warheads.
Yep.
I don't think they're particularly strong ones, but like, even if India wins in first strike, isn't that going to like environmentally devastate the submarine?
No, because they could decapitate and they could use low wheeled nuclear warheads, and it would do basically no environmental damage. You have to use like huge warheads to cause environmental damage.
Okay.
And then you can intentionally cause environmental damage by using cobalt warheads, which would cause prolonged fallout and radiation.
Right.
I think if Pakistan went into if Pakistan got a first strike, I don't even know how much of India they could really hit. Because I think Pakistan is mostly an airborne based nuclear state. I don't know how much intermediate range ballistic missiles. I don't think either side has ICBMs at this point.
Okay, India has the Agni, which is 5.
But they have the Agni 3. They haven't developed the Agni 5 or the Agni 6, which would be ICBMs. I thought they only have intermediate range ballistic missiles.
I think not deployed yet. Yeah. I mean, Pakistan's not that far away. I don't know where.
Well, no, they don't. They don't need it. They need it again so they could, if they can strike Beijing, and they do
have a nuclear triad.
What?
India does have a nuclear triad.
Okay, but it doesn't really have a nuclear triad because it doesn't have ICBMs.
Yeah.
It just has intermediate range ballistic missiles, but it still could strike. So if some weird like freak of nature event happened, India could hit America with submarine based nukes. Right, or Russia with submarine-based nukes, or France or something, but for retaliation purposes. But
Okay, they do have intermediate range, which I'm sure could hit most of Pakistan. Okay.
No, it can hit. They can hit all of Pakistan.
Oh yeah, okay, it can easily hit all of Pakistan. Okay, okay, so yeah, that's I don't even know what it. Wikipedia says they have the same number of nukes, but I'd imagine India. I think
I don't
Pakistan
know.
might have slightly because I've heard Pakistan has slightly more, but they probably wouldn't work very
So
well.
Pakistan has cruise missiles that they would launch their nukes with.
Okay, would that? Well, that would assume that they would work.
Yeah, I assume that there's enough Pakistanis that are able to. I think that the problem is that their command and control is as bad as an Arab state.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that India has the best command and control either, but it would be like how Arab armies fight really shittily, why Arabs lose wars kind of stuff. So I don't even know if they could like coordinate an actual strike.
Like I mean, like let's not LARP for a second. Civilian control of the army is very important.
Well, obviously,
Generally speaking, juntas do terrible in conventional war. I can't think of like many examples where
Japan in World War II.
Was that?
Yeah, or a quasi junta.
Yeah, I guess. But like then you had there was a lot of getting a high off your own supply thing there.
Mm-hmm.
And they believing their own jingoism and just kind of.
Yeah, Black Zero. We talked about Pakistani tactical nuclear policy earlier.
So yeah, I don't. So what do you think is going to happen? Are they going to escalate or like what would so escalation would just be India blows up a couple more bases, declares victory, and leaves?
Yeah, but I don't. Yeah, but it's also possible that there'll be ground combat between militias and stuff, and thousands of people will die in conventional war. So India's policy now is to fight a limited conventional war, which they believe they'll win, before that Pakistan would use tactical nuclear weapons against them.
Right.
So basically, to locally defeat Pakistan and force them to negotiations.
I guess the negotiations would be to take actions against.
Yeah, and but the thing is that do you trust Pakistan to have a stable enough government to take worthwhile actions to resolve the situation?
No, they won't.
So yeah, this has happened again and again and again and again. So this is just a wound which will never heal, basically, until India heals it for Pakistan, which could result in nuclear war.
So basically, has it been getting worse over time? Like the number of attacks Pakistan's been doing by proxy?
What do you mean?
Like, is there more and more terrorism?
No, it's just that every time it happens, it can lead to a war, right? And there's no way to stop it.
Also,
Pakistan's
like
not doing what they need to do.
We have all these crazy people like who aren't responsible. They could just launch like 10 of these like someday, or I don't know. Like we don't know how far they'll go.
Well, the worst one was in 2001, but there's more people have died. I think there's more escalation this time because now India's bombed within Pakistan outside of Kashmir.
Right.
And there's been air combat because it was an M16 that shot down a MiG-21. So in 2001 and in 1999, this is the first time there's been air combat since 1975.
That was the
Bangladeshi genocide war.
Yep.
They don't have multiple launch vehicle missiles yet. They're experimenting on it, Black Zero, but they don't have it yet.
Okay. But okay, so the question is, in a war, not would India win, but would they win? Would they be able to stop Pakistan from counter attacking with nukes?
Yeah, it depends if they want to do a conventional war, yes. But India could probably do a nuclear first strike and win.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if they do a nuclear first strike and win, then you have warheads loose in a 200 million size Somalia right on your border.
Yeah. One of the things is borders in general are pretty. I find it's very difficult to move borders in the current world environment. I kind of feel even if India won an overwhelming victory, they wouldn't be able to take any of Kashmir.
Well, it hasn't moved since 47, has it?
No, I don't think it has.
I mean, India gave back the stuff that it took in 71 for, goodwill, wink, wink. And where did that take them? Or was it 71 or it was 71, sorry. Or was it 71 or 65? It was 71. It was 71 was that war. Sorry, everybody.
Right. No, it's a let's see, 71. So like why does so is Pakistan just LARPing? Like do they think they can honestly beat India?
Well, they can locally if they are more prepared locally within the region.
Oh, so
they could beat a limited escalation.
And then cry to the UN when India starts kicking their asses.
Yeah, that's kind of well, first of all, they just shot down that MiG-21, maybe 2 MiG-21s, and now they're trying to do a peace treaty. So what they're trying to do is get the upper hand a little bit and then force India doing a peace treaty to have like a propaganda victory.
Mm-hmm. So Pakistan just has a whole bunch of people on the border ready for a Zerg rush.
Yeah, that's basically their idea is to just Zerg. That's what they tried in 1999. Have local superiority in Zerg rush.
What happened
in a conventional war?
What happened in 1999?
That was when they sent the paramilitaries and they pretended they weren't part of the Pakistan.
Oh yeah, India won that, right?
Yep. I think India's won every. I believe India's won every single one.
Yeah, I guess maybe some are slightly closer than others. I think 71 was a fucking disaster for Pakistan.
Well, no, Pakistan got wrecked in 71.
Mm-hmm. Like I don't know how they thought East and West Pakistan was ever going to work. Like how that's possible.
Again, I just read up on this in the past few weeks. I don't know that much about Pakistan outside of Kashmir.
No, just how you're familiar, right, with how like it was Bangladesh was part of Pakistan, right?
Yeah, I'm completely familiar. In 1971,
I just don't get like how they ever thought that was going to work. Like having it on two sides of the continent. Someone's saying, "Isn't Pakistan allied with China?" Yeah, so
we talked about that earlier. Pakistan
China is telling them to
calm down. China's trying to force Pakistan to go back and to status quo antebellum.
So, does China view India as its long-term enemy?
Yes.
So like Burma is a client kingdom, isn't it?
It's becoming. I don't know if it fully is. They're trying to be allies with Burma, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan. I don't know about Bangladesh, but surround them on all sides that way.
Is Vietnam still allied with Russia?
Vietnam is allied with India. I believe there's Russian troops within Vietnam, so it's really confusing.
They hate China, though, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so then there's Sri Lanka and Djibouti and Pakistan. Okay, so yeah, they've completely surrounded India. Do you know, is Bangladesh, or does no one care about
I don't know about Bangladesh and China's relations.
I don't think anyone cares.
Bangladesh is a shithole. Like, it's so densely populated.
Mm-hmm. Would other countries help Pakistan? Would other Muslim countries help Pakistan?
What could they do to help Pakistan? It's not really a thing if they could help Pakistan, because neither side wants to do is they want to play a war of conventional war chicken and push each other around in Kashmir and then force each other to have a peace.
Mm-hmm.
Neither side wants to have a full-scale war because that would likely lead to nuclear war. But the thing is that they can't control their generals, and even India can't control their generals because of how intense their hatred for each other is.
Right.
If you go and you listen to India or Pakistani media right now, you will it's just pure propaganda.
Yeah. It's yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen. I think
We have no idea what's going to happen, and we have no idea what's happening now.
I don't know if we're necessarily dealing, I don't want to say irrational actors, but actually maybe a bit. I mean, I kind of feel like these people believe their own propaganda.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
Well,
And
India believes that it can destroy Pakistan. India believes it can destroy Pakistan without a sweat, but Pakistan can give them a bloody nose. And Pakistan thinks that even though that they could give them a bloody nose, they could kill India.
Right. And once again, you have the ISI running around. You have all these terrorist groups. You have rogue generals on both sides. I think honestly, if both politicians got their way, they'd shoot each other a couple more times and this would be over.
No, that's what they want to do.
That's what I think both of them want to do. But they're playing brinksmanship with two very,
Well, to compare this to the Cold War, when both the Soviet Union and the United States had weapons, how many times did they have border wars that killed several thousand or several hundred people?
the
Never.
Soviets did. Oh.
With the United States?
Oh no, well, they don't border each other though.
Yeah, but how many times did they kill each other at any one point?
Very rarely.
So they've had how many border wars since both of them acquired nuclear weapons?
I forget, dozens.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have the Klargi War, you have the 2001 standoff, which was a border war. You have the 2008 standoff.
I mean, isn't there just random shit that happens, all the time?
Mm-hmm. Then you have all these border skirmishes where a squad or another squad's killed. Right, a few squad members are killed in 2011 and 2013. In 2014, again, a few squad members are killed. In 2016, a couple dozen squads are killed. And now you have a few hundred are killed this time. So you've had 3 border wars where hundreds of people have died since they've both attained nuclear weapons.
There was no border wars in Europe for the whole Cold War, was there?
No.
There wasn't a single one I can think of.
No.
The only border war the Soviet had was with the Chinese.
Yep.
And they weren't a Western power.
Yeah, and the Soviet Union had massive superiority in terms of technology and weapons of mass destruction.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I kind of feel like America and Russia both had better control of their people during the Cold War. There was less of a chance of just random people running off and doing shit on their own.
Yep.
I think. Sorry, go on.
India's policy now is that they can win a limited war, that they'll just conduct limited wars from now on.
But once again, if you're Pakistan, the only chance you have is using nukes, because you'll get.
In a real war, yeah.
In a real war, so they kind of have to use nukes.
Yep.
Okay, so someone says, how can UN resolve Kashmir issue when India is a friend of the US? They will not be allowed. I know it isn't the US on.
They can't resolve it. That's what we've been talking about. It cannot be resolved. This is the problem. This happened so many times, and it just will not be resolved.
And if one side tries to take it for good, that'll lead to nuclear war.
Yep.
Okay, here's what's gonna happen. China's gonna go, oh, we solved Kashmir issue by annexing it for the China Dragon. And then they pull out some like financial nonsense and gain control of India and Pakistan, and then they annex Kashmir.
You know, I support this solution.
This is like the 4D chess solution. I could see China having some 4D chess solution to this. Because they have like a 4D chess solution to everything. But no, like neither side can win. They're never going to agree to a referendum. They're never going to agree to Kashmiri independence. Honestly, Kashmiri independence would probably be the best, and just have a buffer state. Probably it would be the best geopolitically if it was just a Chinese satellite state.
I support the one-state solution.
Oh, just have it be its own country?
Yeah.
Because if it was a Chinese satellite, then that's at least kind of a neutral power. But it's, I don't know. The thing is just a shit show. So could they have a full-scale conventional war without
resorting to nuclear weapons?
Yeah.
It's possible. As I admit in my newer video, Hitler didn't use chemical weapons in World War II. None of the sides used chemical weapons.
Right, even though they didn't know this, but they had them and their opponents didn't.
Yeah, well, Germany had far superior chemical weapons, but they believed that their allies did have even more of these far superior chemical weapons. So Germany could have conceivably used them and won the war. But the thing is that to look at here is that Hitler didn't use them in 1945 when he knew he was going to lose for vengeance.
Right.
That's what's interesting about it. So I guess it's possible.
It's yeah. I guess they could have a full-scale conventional war. I don't know. The question is just how many more times is this going to happen? Where they do this like Brinksmanship until somebody does something that they can't take back.
Just forever.
So it's just a ticking time bomb.
Yep.
I mean, I don't like there's no real way to resolve this issue. Other than just giving the whole thing to China or making an independent state, but no one's ever going to agree to that.
Nope. Black pilled.
No, this whole thing is a black pill because this is just going to go on until
until kaboom.
Until kaboom, because Pakistan's going to keep sending in these terrorist groups. India's going to keep getting pissed off about it. Both sides are going to keep stirring the pot and telling all their people to oh, we're going to win, we're going to kill them, we're going to finally beat Pakistan. I'm all for nationalism, etc., but we have to keep in mind a lot of nationalism is very toxic.
You know what's the most important part about nationalism?
What?
Existing.
Exactly. Exactly. It's just, I don't know. Anyways, man, I think we covered this issue pretty well. I think we got through it. As always, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
Please check out Nazbol's channel. Let me just post a link to it. He is currently doing his review of the Karl Marx anime.
Hopefully I'll get an issue with that resolved soon.
Yeah, well, he's working on it. He's doing the Karl Marx anime, and he did a really good video on the Cuban and Moldovan election and the how Germany could have won World War II recently. Definitely check both of those out.
Thank you. Well, read his book. It's good.
Anyways, so good night, everybody. God bless, and have a good week.